Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Relish the Journey. As always, this is your host, Myles Biggs, and I'm pleased to say that I'm joined in this episode by Phil Mitchell, who is a composer and songwriter and also an author with nearly 100 quotes, it looks like, credited to his name. So, Phil, it's excited to talk to you today. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me.
So how does one become a quote writer? I've not heard of anyone describe themselves that way before, but you sent me some to look at, and they're great, and I'm just curious how you got started in that.
Yeah, a lot of the quotes that I write, they come from what I see, my life, my journey, what I see happening around me, and then trying to find the truth, the meaning of it. And then when I would find the truth, I'd be, wow, this is something original. I don't think anybody's really said it like this before. And that's really how the quotes kind of developed. They were off the journey that I was taking at the time.
So what's your favorite quote? Of all you've written, what's the one that still sticks out to you as number one?
Well, I like the one about the dreams keep us growing, dreams keep us alive. If we give up our dreams, then we don't have a chance to live out those dreams. I think that's a good quote because to me, the idea of being an American is living that American dream, and then that we're able to relate to different cultures. I mean, it's what sets us apart as a country. And I think, dreams do keep us growing. They do keep us alive. And it doesn't matter what age you are, that those dreams, help focus your lives and help you to, cherish that moment.
Yeah, and as a parent, I've got a 2.5-year-old. I really identified with the one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I identified with the one that you sent me that said a child sees the world through his or her own point of view, and an adult tries to see the world through others. Can you give me some context on that one? How you came up with that quote and what it means to you?
Yeah, it's surprising. I put that quote out there, and I had a lot of people who saying, well, that describes my husband, or that describes my wife. Even though you're an adult, a lot of times, we're looking at things from our own point of view and not from the world around us or how other people see things. Being an artist, I'm always creating things, whether it's a quote or writing a song, that I'm looking, out beyond myself and what I see. And I guess that's where that quote came from.
Yeah, so let's talk about that too. You talked about music. And so I think it's interesting how you're involved in both of these. Often you find people that are all in on one, be it music or writing, the written word, and you're doing both. So how did you get started in being a composer?
Well, I really got to credit my grandpa who was an artist. I'm not an artist, but an artist, every little stroke is important when they're doing a painting. And I don't have this drawing ability, but I somehow came up with this musical ability. And also my mom played the piano. So first I got to give credit to them. And it was just through the years of just writing a lot of music. I did 3 albums, The Morning Star, and I did America. And then I came up with the Crossroads album. And when I was working on the Crossroads album, it's not like, I write the music. It's not like I got singers right away or you're not sure who I'm going to put on, playing guitar. When I did the Crossroads album, I stumbled upon something that spoke to my heart as if it all came upon me at once, to reach out strong to each other, to build no fear like the coronavirus today. We shouldn't have any fear in this country, to stay strong and to have hope. The word spoke to me with a profound spiritual meaning that made me stop and want to grasp the moment. So when I did that album, I stopped all writing songs. The album itself grasped me, and I didn't really reflect on it that much. But now with the coronavirus and what's happening, a lot of these things, that were expressed in the album are coming alive because we're cherishing these things so much more. Our kids, our families, the idea of reaching out to each other, the idea of building a future for our kids, having that hope. It just came up so much alive. And as a songwriter, we don't think of these things. We just go out there and write the song. It's a spur of the moment, what comes upon us. We just doing the stroke, putting a painting together.
So what's your process like when it comes to writing? It's something I've always wondered. For some people, I think must be easy for them. It just all sort of spills out onto the page, and other people go through lots of rounds of editing and writing and editing some more. What's the method for you from an idea to a finished song?
A lot when I'm doing the lyrics, I come up with the music what I played on the piano first, and then I would build a lot of my music off what I had played first, and then the lyrics would come to me later on. It was a process of putting the song together. "Come and Stay With Me" is a perfect example. The rock ballad that it kind of evolved. There's a lot going on with that song. So many instrumentals interacting. The words to that song just didn't come all at once. It evolved over time. And it just kind of came together as a process of the creation of the song. And a lot of times that's just how it comes about.
Interesting. So what's the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome in your artistry, be it through music or the written word? What's a setback you faced, and how have you overcome it to come out stronger on the other side?
It's a lot of times us artists take a lot of different jobs. So I drove a trolley downtown in Chicago. We also had double deckers going around down in the city, and I don't even know if we could even get crowds together anymore on a double decker the way this virus is going. But it was I cherished that moment. We do a lot of different jobs that we're doing, but we're still focused on what we're creating. It's like God gave us a gift, and we have to do what we can, the best, to get out that gift. And so I would say sometimes it's doing other things in addition to what we're doing as far as our art.
What's a piece of advice that somebody gave you when you embarked on your artistic journey that still sticks with you today, that you sort of dig deep into your mental database and pull from to get you through some difficult times?
Well, a lot of times when people hear my songs, or it's Crossroads album, the songs just grab you. And I have to credit my piano teacher. When she told me to play, she said, "Play with your heart. Just don't just play the song, but, let it grasp you, have something that comes out of your heart." And so as I was taking piano lessons, I was also writing music at the time. And I try to, I think that's something that I've always tried to keep with me. Whatever we create, make sure that it comes from the heart and what we're trying to say.
I think it's great. So if I'll flip that question and you had to give advice to someone just starting out with their art, if it's music or painting like you referenced or writing, what would be a piece of advice you'd give them as they're just getting started that maybe it's something you wish you knew when you first started?
Well, of course, when you're putting an album together, it's not always easy to find the different components. And sometimes I think, that God guides us in putting all those components together, and it'll come at times. So I would tell somebody just starting out, don't get discouraged. Use your channels and what you have in front of you. Get involved with some good people and give it some time. Sometimes it takes a little time before you start to see the finished product.
I think it's great advice. That makes me wonder, how long did it take for you to start to see the benefits of your work? What was the time frame from when you first started to feel a little bit of success?
Well, you start to see the benefits when you know the song that you've written really grabs somebody, or a quote really grabs somebody. And I'd said this quote the other day was, one of my favorite quotes is, "The planets and the sun are there to support life on Earth. We are just part of a garden that surrounds a living spring. It is life itself that is the driving force of the universe. It is up to us to help preserve this garden before nature takes its course and returns us to the right course." And I wrote that quote. I say that to people, and they're like, "Wow, that is so relevant today and what's going on." Well, a lot of people don't even think of the earth as a garden anymore. They don't think of the consequences of what they're doing. And, sometimes, you reflect back, and, it starts to really grab what you're doing. And even when, you're talking with other people.
Yeah, in many ways, when I was reading your quotes and hearing you speak about it, for me, I feel like I'd call you a modern day philosopher, right? Sort of sitting there and pondering things like the earth as a garden and things like that, and the mindset of a child versus an adult. It's rare that people stop long enough to have original thoughts like that, let alone, share them in a way that you do. So have you ever thought of yourself that way, sort of as a philosopher?
Well, I didn't want to end up that. I like to view myself as an artist. People say, "Well, when are you going to do your final album? When are you going to write your final quote?" And I can't really say that. I'm just creating things. It's not up to me to decide that. Every time I think, well, this is it, I'm still creating something. And so it's hard to say, a philosopher, yeah, these quotes have so much meaning today. But I still just consider myself an artist, a composer, someone who's constantly writing and trying to, interact with the people that are around me, like driving a trolley, what they're trying to say to me. I think it's important. If we're not hearing what people are saying to us, as artists, we're not really, getting across, what we should be and what we're creating.
Yeah, I think you just touched on such a huge point there where we have to listen more than we talk. You have to take in maybe more than you create. And that's where you're going to get inspired and learn what people want. And it's just very important to listen. It's the old 2 ears, not 2 mouths, right? You should listen more than you talk.
Yeah, just like, a lot of things going on. Today we see with the way the course of our nation's going. And I wonder how many times people are just, thinking of their own ideas. Are they really listening to what's around them? To see what's going on. Are we ready to tackle these problems? Do we have a disaster plan? Or do we have something set up? If we're more in the world around us, we won't find ourselves reacting. We'll be more well prepared, I think, in the long run.
For sure. Yeah, if we all had a little bit of an artist mind, the world might be a better place.
Exactly. I think we do touch the world and what we do. We try to see the world through others and not just our point of view. And I think that's what I really cherish in my life is being able to do that, to be able to be an artist and the sheer joy of creating something and then looking back and seeing what you did. It's just thrilling. It's a big part, as I go through the journey in life and the meaning of it.
Yeah. And so since you mentioned that word, journey, I ask everybody on this podcast to describe their journey so far. And for you, we'll say your creative journey, your artistic journey. How would you summarize that in just 3 words?
A journey to remember. I would say that it's an incredible journey. To see, knowing that it wasn't your idea, that somehow it was created. You were part of this garden, whatever, creating what you did at the time, and then seeing it come to life and how it touches not only you, but it also touches the people around you. That's how I would use to describe it.
I like that. Journey to remember. Those are a good 3 words.
A journey through music.
Oh, there you go. Journey through. You want to change it up? Journey through music?
No, I like both journey through words. I would say both with me. I think they go together.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So which one's your favorite, music or writing?
Oh, I don't know about that one. I mean, that Crossroads album, even when I was done with that, you just take the moment and then you come up with something. That's hard to say, but then I read the quotes and I said, gosh, people say this is so relative today, so we really need this. What you're saying, it's so relevant, so meaningful. That would be a hard toss up there to say, which one was bigger. I would say, both were, part of the love and the creation, that I really enjoyed doing at the time.
Sure, it'd be like asking a parent to say which kid they love the most, right? You love them both equally.
Yeah, I've got 3 kids, so I know it's kind of, you love them all equally.
So people listen to this interview and they see what we post out there as an example of your quotes and they want to hear your music. Where should we send them on the internet to see more about Phil Mitchell?
Go to head to www.philmitchellband.com. You can see the website. You can hear the songs. Help support us composers. We're not always in the forefront, but we're always out there creating stuff. You could also go to Pinterest. I have a lot of quotes online and on Pinterest. If you just go to the Morningstar_PM on Pinterest or just look up Phil Mitchell, you'll see a lot of the quotes that I've put out. So those are good places to start. Also, I have some books that I've written that you can find online. But go to the website. It really has everything kind of in focus on the website.
Great. Well, we'll send them that way. And I appreciate your time today, giving us some insight into the artist world. So thanks for joining us on the podcast.
And thank you so much. And I hope I can't wait to hear more of these stories of people's journeys and, what they're reflecting on. I think it's a great show.
Thank you. All right, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Relish the Journey. Thank you all so much for listening, and a very special thank you to Phil for being our guest this week. Be sure to check out the show notes for the links that he described on where to find his art. Please subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends. It's how we grow our audience and spread this mantra of Relish the Journey. Until next time, everyone, cheers.